Good evening, it's 7 o'clock, so it must be the Punter, and you're watching it on Sports Tonight. I'm joined by Chris Graham, and the more observant of you may have noticed there's no kilt. He had promised faithfully to wear one if Andy Murray won, but sadly, you were kind of like getting it out of the cupboard, weren't you, at one stage, and kind of dusting it down a bit?
I was getting really excited. Then, for me, it was game 9, the second set. The kilt went back into the trunk, back into the loft when he missed those big points, and Federer just seemed to take control, and that was that. But you've been spared from my horrible legs, so in that respect, it's a good thing.
I had one bet yesterday. I jumped on Federer when Murray won the first set. It was even money, and I think that was about as big as he got.
6-4.
Was it? Well, I missed the value again, but I'm happy with evens.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk to one of our Skypers in a minute, who knows far more than I. But I think a lot of the talk this morning and last night after the game, I don't quite agree with it. They said that Federer produced brilliance, and yes, he did. But the chances that Murray had, I think before Federer produced his brilliance, Murray had opportunities, and to use the kind of sporting vernacular, and it may sound harsh and cruel, I think he bottled it. I really do. On the big points, when it really mattered. That game where he was broken in the second set, that was the key to it, wasn't it? That came out of nowhere, really.
I don't think he bottled it, to be honest. But I think I agree with you in the sense that let's use adjectives like brave and proud about Andy Murray. He had a great day, and he's done a lot of credit to himself, and he's improved from his previous 3 Grand Slams, but he could have done better. I really feel that, and he did have Federer on the ropes. You can see it in his eyes. Murray was absolutely buzzing. 4-all in the second set. He had those break points. I'm telling you, I think if he'd have won that game, and he could have won that game, he would have went on and won the whole match. But you're right, let's not laud Murray too much here.
It's kind of coulda, woulda, shoulda. Let's join Mark Blair, who's our tennis expert, with us on Skype. Mark, which camp are you in? Are you in the kind of Federer was brilliant camp, and Murray played well and was just beaten by the better man, or could Murray have done more? Did he miss vital chances at vital times?
Hi Trevor, hi Chris.
Hi mate.
Yeah, I mean it was a big shame for the whole of Britain. I think it really boils down to the fact that he's just not as good as those top 3. There's a gap. It's not a massive gap, but he just doesn't. He's not as good. I mean, over 3 sets, he can win lots of matches against those 3 players. But I think when it comes down to a 5-set match on a big stage, he's yet to prove it. The closest I've seen him get was that performance against Djokovic at the Aussie Open early in the year. Yesterday, he actually served very well. His first serve percentage dropped off the further the match went.
It was something like 49%, wasn't it, in the third set?
I think it was above 60% in the first set, which he won.
But in the third set, I think it was below 50, and you just can't win with that stat, can you?
No, any top player has to serve above, I don't know, 55, 58%, that kind of range to win at the top level. And the other 3 do. And Murray, he has his good days where he gets above 60%, but he also has a lot of bad days where he's in the mid-50s.
Okay. Chris, the next big tournament for Andy Murray, of course, is the Olympics, back at in SW19.
Yeah.
We're going to get the odds up of that in a minute. What kind of a reaction do you think there might be? I mean, are you more inclined to back Murray after the way he's played at Wimbledon, or less inclined?
More, because I just think the determination in that interview to literally try and speak was amazing. I think he shows you how much he wants to win a major tournament. But the one caveat,
I want to own a Porsche. I mean, just because he wants to win one doesn't mean he will win one.
It's true, but I still think his head went down yesterday. I really believe that. You can see it in his body language.
And
I think there's still
and that's something. How often do you see that from the likes of Federer, Djokovic, or even Nadal? Nadal occasionally gets this sort of injury-focused thing, doesn't he? But apart from that, they just don't show weakness.
But that's why I love Andy Murray, because he shows his heart, and even if it's negative, he shows passion, rather than Federer, who's just polished to perfection. I don't want to support a guy like that, he's just too polished. Anyway, I'm deviating.
He has to be polished with his RF fancy jackets. Let's have a look at the prices then. Andy Murray is an 11-2 shot to win a gold medal. in about 3 weeks' time. I think it starts. I mean, really, the prices reflect the world rankings. Djokovic, well, Federer now, of course, is the new number one, but I think most would accept Djokovic would beat him most of the time. Didn't happen at Wimbledon, it went the other way. Nadal, after that, well, he'll be fresh anyway after that early exit, and Murray at 11-2 and any price you like the rest.
My worry is how much do the players care about this tournament? That's a genuine question. How much do they really care about this tournament? With the US Open 3 weeks after it, and two big one, would you rather win this or would you rather win the US Open? I think it'd be emphatically the US Open.
Yeah.
Would you rather win this or the Cincinnati Masters? I think that's pretty close, which is the Tier 2 event before the US Open. So in that mind, it's difficult for punters really to approach this event with total confidence. Like Nicolas Massu won this in 2004. Gonzalez got through to the final in 2008, so it's not a rock solid form guide to unpick. So in that sense, I'd tread carefully.
11-2, Mark, about Andy winning an Olympic gold. That doesn't strike me as being much of a value bet, to be honest.
No, well, it is a tricky one to call this tournament. I mean, they all talk a good game. They all make out like it's the 5th Grand Slam, and that they look forward to sharing, with their fellow athletes in the Olympic Village. But the prize money, it's nowhere near the level at a Grand Slam. I think there is incentive. I do think they all want to win it, but it's whether they want to go that extra mile. And to win this type of event, I don't know. Also, you have the 3-set factor, which makes upsets far more likely.
Yes.
The big servers like Milos Raonic and John Isner, they they don't need to win over 5 sets. They don't get as tired out because those kind of players have those long marathon matches. So I think you might see more upsets at this event.
Interesting. Okay. I want to move it on to Wimbledon 2013 because we know the bookmakers love to do this. Within like half an hour of that victory for Federer yesterday, they're out with their prices for next summer. Now, is there much we've learned from this Wimbledon that we didn't know from last? Because I think the main thing is we've learned that Roger Federer is still a force.
That's the main thing, and Novak Djokovic isn't
unbeatable.
Exactly, they're the two key things I would suggest. I mean, Federer, how is he still winning Grand Slams?
Well, let's see what price is, because I think it's interesting. They still make him 3rd favourite behind Djokovic and Nadal, but he's significantly short of an Andy Murray. I think Murray was a 9-1 shot at the start of this championship. Well, the championship's just finished, so they've shortened him slightly on the basis of his performance, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's Djokovic looks a bit weak favourite. He really succumbed quite easily in that semi-final against Federer. I was quite disappointed by that. He doesn't look like the same machine as he was in 2011, which is a bit of a concern. Would you want to take 9-4 now for someone in 12 months' time? His form, he might never recapture that wonderful 2011 form. You never know. Nadal obviously got those kind of injury doubts that always kind of put you off a wee bit. I mean, is there a case to say we might see someone else break through here? These top 4 have been dominant for the last 4 years. Is it a case for somebody like David Goffin to step up? Martin Del Potro to at last rediscover his 2009 form? I don't know. I wouldn't be taking short prices at the moment for a bet 12 months down the line.
I mean, is there any point, Mark, in getting involved now on a tournament that's going to happen in 12 months' time?
Well, if you had Nigel in the studio, he might say yes, because all of these bookies, they want their punters' money tied up for as long as possible. I don't think there's much value in having your money tied up over that length of time. Traditionally, you also get lesser over rounds the closer you get to an event. For example, I'm sure a lot of the viewers are familiar with the term over round. The overround, tends to get much smaller as you approach an event. So
what you're talking about for those who maybe are fairly new to punting is just effectively the percentage that the bookmaker takes out of the book.
Exactly. On a coin toss or a real 50-50 outcome, the book, a retail type bookmaker might charge 5 to 6 both sides, and the closer you get to an event, the more likely you're going to have a real Betfair type market with a real even money either side.
Okay, no, it's interesting you say that. Let's throw it forward to the next Grand Slam event, Chris, which of course is the US Open at Flushing Meadows. Again, it's likely to be the same candidates, isn't it? It's interesting how their books change slightly depending on the tournament. I mean, the surface, it is a surface that Andy's played well on before.
Oh, he's done well. He got to the final in 2008.
Yeah.
Famously beat Nadal in that particular semi-final.
And deserved to as well.
Oh, he did. So if you're asking me now which of the 4 Grand Slams I think Murray's got a better chance in, it's this one. So in that respect, if I was, it's tough. I think at the prices, Federer probably at 92 to continue his fantastic 2012. He's won at Wimbledon. He's won 2 or 3 Masters Series events as well. He's won at the US Open before. 92 appeals to me a lot more than the much shorter price than Djokovic. But don't completely write Murray off here at 6-1.
Is the US Open, Andy, Murray's best chance of winning a Grand Slam event?
I think that Roger Federer and Andy Murray both have a relative advantage at the US Open and Wimbledon versus the Australian Open and the French. Obviously, at the French, it's clay and the rallies tend to go on a lot longer, which doesn't suit Murray and Federer. Also, the heat tends to be a factor that Murray doesn't like in Australia, whereas the US Open is played on the same surface as the Australian Open, but the balls tend to be a lot lighter, and Federer and Murray can impose their attacking games a bit more.
Okay, let's move on then, Chris, to some specific Andy Murray markets, painful as it may be for you as a fellow Scot. Murray to win a Grand Slam next year, so 4 chances. 2013, 11-5, yes he will. 3-10, no he won't. That's fairly conclusive, isn't it, really?
I can't back 11-5. Cannot back 11-5. I'm really sorry. I'd love to see it. I don't care about money when it comes to this. I just for improving my life generally, it would be great if he won. So betting doesn't matter a jot in this kind of market. But 11-5, just too short. Too many questions to answer for me. Too many near misses. 4 consecutive Grand Slam final defeats. 1 set won, 12 beaten. There's just too many questions for Trevor to get involved in 11-5.
All right, so I think I might know where you're going in terms of how many majors Murray will win in 2013. I mean, if you fancy him to clean up, well, you'll clean up because he's 500-1 to win all 4. Optimists only need apply. Obviously, the same price, 3-10 to win none, and you can see the other prices on screen.
That's, I mean, 3-10. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, it's just too hard to predict this, and I just think there's too many questions. It's too many hurdles for him to overcome. He needs Nadal, Federer, Djokovic to drop out before the early rounds, like we saw at Wimbledon. Really, it's very, very difficult.
I'll tell you a price I like. I'll get pilloried for this, but we're going to talk about whether he'll ever win a Grand Slam, because that's a much more interesting market in terms of the betting, the non-massive odds-on chances. I think we can have a look at the prices for that. Yes, 4-6. No, 5-4. Now I'm a massive fan of the no camp here, and I'll tell you for why. He's 25 now. Okay, if we say give him till he's 30, give him another 5 years. Okay, that's 20 majors. You take the French up, he can't win that. It's impossible the way he plays. So 15. Now, okay, Federer will be 35 by the time Murray's 30, so maybe he'll be out the ball game for the last couple of years. But Nadal and Djokovic are still going to be there. I think odds against is a great bet. I don't think he's got the bottle to win a major. I don't.
Reluctant to use the word bottle, to be honest, but I do agree with you. I think his time is running out. As well as Nadal and Djokovic still got to be in there. Federer's got to drop off, but this new generation's got to come as well. So he's got this new bunch of players he's got to come up against, and it's got to be really tough. I mean, Colin Montgomery all over again, isn't it?
Colin Montgomery, Jimmy White, the world title, all that. Mark, can Andy ever win a major? What do you think?
I think he can. I'm going to be the optimist here. What Murray has got in his favour is that there is a sizable gap between the top 4, if you can call them that, and the rest, the Berdiches, the Stongas, the Del Potros. Sure, they can win a match or two against these, top 4 players, but to do it consistently over a Grand Slam, I don't think they can. Federer is, he's getting on a bit. Plus, you've got the fact that Nadal, I just don't know how long his legs are gonna are going to hold up. You hear every 6 months or so that it seems that he's got some serious tendonitis problems, and I don't think you're going to see Nadal play on until his 30s the way that Roger Federer has.
What about Djokovic?
Djokovic, I see him becoming, Murray's nemesis for the next 5 years. But as I said before, at the Australian Open earlier this year, I don't know, during the fourth set, Murray really had Djokovic on the ropes, and Murray was odds on at that point to win that match. It was the best I've seen him play, and I think if he can just, keep getting into these situations in Grand Slams, getting to the semis, these upsets, what Gasol did to Nadal, these upsets, a player goes out and all of a sudden you only need to beat one top class player to win a Grand Slam. And I do think, I'm not sure if it will be next year or the year after, but I do think at some stage he will sneak a Grand Slam.
Listen, I hope you're right. It's nice to have some optimism in the studio, but Chris and I are struggling to agree with you. But anyway, thank you ever so much again, Mark. I'm sure we'll be back with you as we head towards the Olympic tennis.
Lovely. All right, cheers.
Cheers, Mark. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? He was odds on yesterday and lost. He was odds on against Djokovic in the the Australian Open and lost. This keeps happening. That's my thing with him. He can't take a winning position and capitalise on it and see it through.
That's fair enough. He definitely needs to toughen up mentally. You're right, and let's hope it comes. I pray to God I hope it comes.
Okay. Well, no joy for Andy Murray, but there is plenty of patriotic cheer as far as cricket's concerned, because we're thrashing Australia, and we'll look ahead to all the odds for the fourth one-dayer after this. Welcome back. You're watching the Punter on Sports Tonight. Might not feel like cricket weather out there, but somehow England have got 3 games done against Australia and beaten them comprehensively in each one. They are supposed to be the world's number 1 one-day team, Australia. They haven't really played like it, have they?
God, they're poor, aren't they? This is just like everything I didn't ever imagine. I've been brought up to believe that Australia dominated England, but my oh my, it's
they used to.
Yeah, they really did, yeah. I've saw it for the first 20 years of my life, but it must be wonderful for cricket fans, my age, England cricket fans, to see their team just outclassing Australia here.
Yes, and people have said, well, the conditions have been in our favour, but it's got to be more than that, because we've made them look seriously second-rate.
Definitely. I mean, it's just total domination. It really is, and God, they're really missing Kevin Peterson, aren't they? Huh?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Ian Bell's come in and done superbly at the top of the order. It's really unfortunate for England that second one-dayer was, or the third one, sorry, was called off because they can't win 5-0, and that was the only result that would take them above the Aussies at the top of the rankings. But that's a small point. We saw when we looked at this a few days ago, the second one, that they had the bookies were like still thinking Aussies were going to make a comeback. Not anymore. Let's show you the odds. I mean, I would expect, on the evidence of what we've seen, that England might have been even shorter than 4-5. To be honest with you,
as would I have. I mean, it's 3-0 up and in fantastic form. They're now dominant in every sense. Australia got injury worries. I think Brett Lee and Shane Watson.
Lee's out and Watson's out.
So yeah. For me, England, if I was just betting it for paper, I'd have England at 8-13, 4-6. So 4-5 is, I think, a real value price. Right?
These prices, by the way, are the best prices on the high street for these eventualities. That's the same with every market that we show you here on the Punter. Always best price, and there are obviously lots of ways where you can find out exactly who is offering that best price. I think one of the reasons, maybe, why England aren't shorter is because the forecast for Manchester tomorrow is not great. It might be potentially a shortened game. They might only have time to have a 20 over a side slog, and that kind of changes the dynamic.
It does. I'm shocked at forecasting rain in this country. It's such a shock, isn't it? Jeez, missed it so much.
I saw the pictures actually today. They had some pictures of what Old Trafford looks like earlier today. And there's there are puddles on the outfield. So I mean, the ground staff are magicians, but so it may have a bearing.
So depressing.
Let's have a look at top England batsmen, top England batsmen, and to be honest, this is tough because they've all been getting runs. Cook and Bell, Trott at 3, Bapara at 4.
Owen Morgan as well.
Owen Morgan, and then we've hardly seen Kieswetter, and he can play as well.
I know. It's a real tough one. In magnificent form, but no one in better form than me than Ian Bell, who's just consistently seems to knock about 69, 75s, just in cracking form just now. He's 72, joint favourite. I'd take him up any day over Cook in this particular market. Jonathan Trott as well, with my second best.
So consistent.
Yeah, he's fantastic guy, and one of the keys to England winning the Ashes last time, 4-1, I think. Is a fair price. You know, if you're looking for a bigger price, perhaps Owen Morgan at 61. But Ian Bell, for me, sorry to be predictable, but rightly to be favourite.
No one's going to need an apology if they cop at 7-2.
Yeah,
I tell you my sort of theory on this. It's really interesting because what England have done by replacing Peterson with Bell is they've shown that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Peterson at the top of the order will blast away, whereas Bell plays proper shots. But because of the field restrictions in the first 10 overs, you can't have more than 3 or 4 players out deep outside the circle, and so you get full value for those. Anything that beats the ring pretty much is 4.
Absolutely, and Bell's exploited that magnificently, and England generally have exploited that magnificently, and 3-0 up, want to play. It's been a fantastic summer so far.
Absolutely, and every sign of it continuing, no sign at all of an Australian comeback. Top Australian batsmen, now they have struggled, they really have struggled. There's been the odd kind of impressive cameo. David Hussey's impressed me, actually. But other than that, not a lot to write home about.
No, it's very uncharacteristic, isn't it? What's happened to the bag of greens?
Well, here's the market. The one guy, I mean, you see David Warner there at the top. I mean, he's the one that's really disappointed me because I've seen him play on television in Australia in one-day cricket, in the IPL. He's a really aggressive player out the Gilchrist mode. I think I saw him score 100 for the Aussies, 140 off about 70 balls in one international. But in English conditions, he hasn't got a run, and he can't seem to hit the ball off the square. I think he was like 25 balls for 3 the other day.
So it's just the conditions you attribute that to?
Well, it's his first tour.
Right,
and I think punters need to be wary of things like that, especially with the weather. If it was 80 degrees, it wouldn't have the same effect. But I think punters need to think when you come, especially on your first tour, to conditions that are completely. I don't imagine that freezing cold, rain. It really equates to Perth in the average summer. I've not been there, but I don't imagine it does. Michael Clarke is the captain. He always bats well. He's got decent technique. George Bailey's sort of impressed me a little bit.
I did mark George Bailey. He scored 65 in one of the earlier matches. He's been playing sort of consistently well. He's caught my eye, and I think middle order in the betting 6-1. I think that's all right.
Peter Forrest, I think, got a first baller the other day, didn't he? He was part of one of Stephen Finn's victims. And talking about Stephen Finn, he's heading the market, I believe, for top England bowler, and rightfully so. 4 wickets in the last game, and he just blew away the top order. Yeah,
he's looking like he'll make the test team next week as well. Fantastic summer he's had so far. Definitely, it's very tight odds here, isn't it? I like Tim Bresman, 70-72. Doesn't really grab that many headlines, but just a solid, consistent bowler. Always gets wickets, and occasionally could top the bet and could top this market.
72 about Bresnan. I mean, it shows you how well Steve Finn's bowling. That he's actually a short price than James Anderson, and he's bowling pretty well himself, and he's thought of as England's main spearhead.
Yeah, and Stuart Broad as well. A class act, but fantastic summer for Finn, and he should get the test team next week, shouldn't he?
I would imagine so. Back in 10 days, I think, to the first test, which is bizarrely at the Oval, which is normally a third test venue, but it's because Lords, of course, is the home of archery for the next. Well, they're preparing it for the archery at the Olympics, hence no cricket at Lords at the moment.
Scandal.
Right, top Australian bowler, James Patterson, Mackay, Mitchell Johnson. They can't split them. I mean, look at this, half a point between the 6. I would venture to suggest that amongst those half dozen, there's not a great deal of style quality. I was watching Mitchell Johnson bowl at the Oval, spraying it all over the place, bowling like 2 or 3 no balls. You bowl no balls in one-day cricket, it's a free hit. You just can't afford to do that.
Absolutely. Been a very poor series for Australia. One of the guys who's impressed me a little bit has been Clint Mackay. He's generally took wickets in each of these one day matches, and for me he'd be the shout here at 72.
I've not at all been impressed with Xavier Doherty. I think Tony Blair was a better spinner than he was, and he is.
Definitely.
Doesn't turn it a lot, and he's been picked off by England's batsmen. I really struggle to see Australia. I mean, and we know Australia will be keen to win this game. They don't want to be whitewashed. They don't want the humiliation of that. But from what we've seen, I think they're going to really struggle. They don't. They're kind of in transition, aren't they?
Yeah, no, yeah. Can you imagine the humiliation back at home? The press, the fearsome Australian press ripping into them. What a shame!
What a shame!
But if I was an England fan now, I'd be wanting the Ashes to happen as soon as possible. It's next year, isn't it?
Back to back, actually. It's summer here and then winter in Australia.
I saw that. I thought it was a misprint.
No,
it was
back to back series.
They've obviously changed the calendar like that. I hate when they mess with tradition like that.
Yeah, it's a bit, I'm not quite sure why they've done it, but it is that way. Well, the one day is a kind of like the aperitif before the main course this summer, which is unofficially the World Championship of Test Cricket, because England ranked 1, South Africa ranked 2, and the South Africans are here. They're playing Somerset today in a warm-up game at Taunton. The first test is only 10 days away. I'm so looking forward to this.
It should be fantastic. Two great sides, two great in-form sides. A real tough one from England. Quite short at 5-4, I think, personally. I actually like the draw here. We know that the weather's been absolutely abysmal this summer, so you might get a couple of drawn tests in there. South Africa, really strong side away from home. They've lost a test on their travel since 2006. 12 wins out of 12. They beat England, of course, on these shores in 2008.
They did.
Spearheaded by the fantastic Graham Smith. I just think there'll be a really tough task for England here to win this series, and I can see it being really close, like the Ashes in 2005, and England to get. I think a draw at 16-5, much better odds.
Okay, 5-4 England, 15-8 South Africa, 16-5 the draw. Would you consider England a lay potentially at 5-4 or not?
Yeah, I would. It's not often you see England such a short price for a series against such a major nation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a measure of the respect that the layers hold England in, that they are as short as that. I mean, the one downside for me is that it's only a 3-test series. It should have been a 5-test. I know it's difficult because the West Indies had to come and the Olympics means Lords out and all that, but really it deserved to be a 5-test series.
It really does. It's such a shame, and I think that's a real shame for cricket fans. It's just 3, but that makes me feel more confident about the draw.
Okay, I think England will have revenge on their mind after that 2008 defeat. That was a close series.
Yeah, it was.
I think we're better now than we were then. So the cricket to look forward to, and that all starts, as I say, in about 10 days' time. But coming up after the break, we're going to have all the fallout from the British Grand Prix yesterday and how that's affected the market. And also, we're getting closer and closer, I think just 9 or 10 days away from the British Open. So all the golf chat as well in just a moment. Welcome back. You're watching the Punter on Sports tonight, and on this show we like to think generally that we deal in facts, or at least opinions that have been formed by rational thought. Today, a classic example of a rumour going around that Roberto Mancini, the Manchester City manager, was about to pack his bags and become the Russian team boss. Betting markets went into an absolute frenzy. As short as 6-4 at one point was Mancini on the next manager to leave market. Of course, it was all nonsense. And then, of course, later in the day, signs a new contract at Eastlands. It just goes to show, Chris, doesn't it, that you can't trust people just because they send a Twitter or there's some kind of rumour on the internet. It means nothing. You've got to check your own facts. You've got to do your research. You
have to fear for these people that back Mancini, the next manager leaves. Who are these people? What should be care in the community? Should that kick in? These people are obviously vulnerable in society.
Well, Meals on wheels at the very least.
It's disturbing, and I'm upset it was quashed before we sat down, because I was looking forward to ripping into it and how absurd it was. Why does he get to leave Man City?
Well, this is the market, right, as it was earlier this afternoon, okay, where Roberto Mancini suddenly, his odds have gone down, pirouetted to 4-1 favourite. Now, with Paddy Power, it was 6-4. Okay, now it's just ridiculous on the next manager to leave market, and of course, subsequently we know that he signed the contract, and Paddy Power from 6-4 are back out to 20s.
It's it's laughable. It really is, and it just shows you, you know. We saw it with Mick McCarthy being backed into odds on to be the next Aston Villa manager.
Yeah.
These are really red herrings. A lot of red herrings in these kind of markets.
One of the things that, I mean, if you have people who do their own research, certainly about Mancini, he was shown the door at Inter, despite the fact he won 3 Scudettos there.
Yeah.
Basically because the president was disgusted, apparently, with Inter's performance in the Champions League.
Oh.
And we know Mancini's never won the Champions League as a manager, and apparently it's his biggest ambition to do so. Why would he leave a club where he has a genuine chance of achieving that to go and become national team boss? He's too young to be a national manager.
Yeah, of course he is. That's the thing that I would never ever understand. I mean, I wouldn't say it's ridiculous that Man City would get rid of him at some point. If they have another disappointing group stage in the Champions League and perhaps are sitting top, 4th, 5th in the league at Christmas, it would be ridiculous for Man City to get rid of him. But why would he leave to go and become national team manager at Russia? And people say, well, because of the money, he'll get loads of money. Did people yesterday on Twitter saying, oh, at least Andy Murray's got to win £500,000. Do you think he really cares about money? No. Do you think he really cares about money? And wants a title?
Absolutely. And you need to believe Chris when he says this, because there's no truth either in the rumour that Chris Graham's going to present a Russian betting show in Moscow. Not at all. Not for all the tea in China, I promise you.
Not at all.
33 to 1, by the way, Mancini's best price to leave with Sky Bet. 66 to 1, say William Hill. No manager leaves this season. That's interesting.
That is interesting. I think it was wasn't it quite late last year? There was a long gap between managers leaving, and and these times where financial insecurity and stuff like that might be that they want to just keep the powder dry and leave. Austerity, that was what I was looking for. Austerity, yeah. Financial austerity. Thank you. Clubs might be a wee bit more conservative.
Well, austerity, not a word you usually associate with Formula One. Plenty of money to throw about there. Yeah. We saw the British Grand Prix yesterday. We didn't see the safety car because the sun came out amazingly.
Extraordinary.
No consolation to those stuck in the car parks or on the motorways. Yeah. But as far as the race itself was concerned, you had a nice line about Alonso, who was clear for most of the race, but ended up coming second behind Mark Webber. But he was backed off the boards.
He touched 1 to 20 at one point. Amazing. Fernando Alonso. So those people who backed him at 1 to 20 are almost as stupid as the people who backed Mancini at 6 to 4 to the next manager to leave.
Who are these people that play at 1 to 20? Because surely, if you've got the 20, you don't need the 1, do you?
I guess it's just people who just generally bet at dead cert prices, like 1 to 20.
No such thing in sport, is there?
There's no such thing, and you might take these prices and 10 times, 49 times out of 50 at work, you slowly top up your balance, but one time you'll get absolutely stung, and it'll reduce your balance from that to that. Yeah. And I have no sympathy.
Yeah.
For these people.
Talking about Alonso, by the way, if you were with us last week, we had Blue Square's Alan Alger on the phone, who was incredibly bullish about Alonso for a podium finish. It was around about even money, just a tad shorter than that. That was never in doubt, really, was it? Was it a bit worrying for Alonso, though, that he did get caught by Webber, and that gap at the top is now down to 13 points in the Drivers' Championship?
Perhaps, but I'm not a total Formula 1 expert, but my understanding is that his car is definitely not the best car. His Ferrari. We saw that, and his teammate Felipe Massa has been really struggling this year. But Alonso seems to get through that every Grand Prix. Seems to pick up points, despite of his car rather than because of his car. Unlike the McLaren pair, Hamilton and Button, who just cannot seem to. When the car's not working, they're gone.
This is really worrying for McLaren. I mean, they looked light years away yesterday from challenging the guys at the top, didn't they?
They did, and it's deeply concerning. A lot of frustration coming out from Hamilton in his post-match interview afterwards. I saw someone in the press saying the car was that bad that finishing 10th for Jenson Button was a triumph. That's scary stuff if that's a triumph.
There's been a lot of movement on the Constructors' Championship. We can have a look at the prices now. I think the last time we looked at this, Chris, Red Bull were about 4 to 6, 2 to 7, because of the consistency of Webber and Vettel. Yeah. Just points, podium finishes almost every single race, week in, week out, and they are. I can tell you, they are, 48, 58, 64 points clear of Ferrari in the Drivers' Championship.
Well, I mean, you know, that looks a fair price. There's so many weak links in Formula One this year in terms of the constructors. We're seeing that certainly with McLaren. And you know, 2-7 Red Bull, 6-1 McLaren. I know which way I'd be. I know which one I'd be taking. That's for sure.
I mean, what would worry me as a sort of a Button fan or a Hamilton fan is that, I mean, Kimi Räikkönen in the Lotus is outperforming the McLarens. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Plus, it's their home Grand Prix as well. You'd like to think that they really this would be the Grand Prix they'd really want to show up and post a massive effort, and they just end up posting a massive embarrassing effort.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Very concerning.
Let's have a look at the latest odds for the Drivers' Championship then, as they stand. Alonso, we know about Nigel Seeley, Bet Butler's pre-season tip at massive price. Well, continues to look a great bet, but there's not much in it now. Just well, quarter of a point, just over between Alonso and Vettel. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be taking the 5-1 Lewis Hamilton. I don't know whether the odds makers know something I don't, but I mean, Hamilton is currently 37 points adrift, and more worryingly than just that stat is the fact that his car's nowhere near as quick as the Red Bulls or the Ferraris.
Very worrying, and 5-1 makes no appeal for me either. I like Mark Webber. I really enjoyed victory yesterday, and he's very graceful.
He comes across as a really nice guy.
Really
doesn't
does.
He?
Like,
yeah.
I loved his quote today in the press. What is it? He said, "I just felt more relaxed because I could take the dogs out for a walk before the Grand Prix because he lives near the track."
Did he not used to run a restaurant in Aylesbury or something? I'm pretty
Never
sure he
been,
did.
never
I'm pretty
been.
sure he did.
Yeah, you see, he does seem like a top bloke. However, I think Alonso deserves to be favourite. Like I said, it's his pure driving that's getting him through this championship, making him picking up points almost despite his car, and that for me deserves maximum respect. And if the car improves, which there's big scope for it to improve, that 15-8 looks tasty.
Well, talking of driving, we're not too far away from the British Open. Always one of the highlights of the sporting year. It's at Lytham this year. Of course, Darren Clark sprang a massive shock. I think he was about a 200 to 1 chance when he won it last year.
He was. It was an extraordinary performance. Unfortunately, I was in a music festival in Spain at the time, so I didn't even see it. But it was one of the sporting highlights of the year. So yeah,
the aftermath was funny as well.
What, the music festival?
Well, not the music festival. The fact that Darren Clark was sort of the worst to wear for about a week.
Yeah, I saw that.
But who can begrudge him it after that victory?
Oh yeah, I know, it was wonderful.
And what it does show, of course, is that you still potentially can get massive prize winners at the big tournament.
Well, I think this tournament in particular, we talked briefly about this on Saturday, and I think it's worth mentioning again, and I'll definitely mention it again in the next 10 days, is the fact that it's becoming a bit of a punter's graveyard, a punter's nightmare, this kind of event. It was always, Faldo, Norman in the 80s, the big boys, Watson and Nicholas in the 70s. This century, we saw Todd Hamilton, Ben Curtis, Stuart Sink, who's kind of mid-table US, but Louis Oosthuizen and Darren Clark at huge prices winning, and that never used to happen. So it's all about treading carefully.
He's 150 to 1, Clark, to repeat his heroics. It's almost worth like a sentimental fiver or something.
I think he's had his time.
I think you're probably... Although he's hit the ball well, apparently, according to my spies.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the more favoured players, top end of the market. No surprises to see Tiger there. I just can't back 7 to 1 against this field. Not value for me. Westwood still has lots of questions, in the same way that Andy Murray does, has lots of questions to answer about whether you want to call it bottle or whatever, but to get the job done in a major tournament, the same applies to Luke Donald, not to Rory McIlroy, of course, who's already a major winner, and that he's not playing well though, is he? That's the problem. And Harrington is playing well, but there's something about Harrington. It always kind of has to have a sort of a disaster somewhere along the line, whether he forgets to sign his card or he runs up an 8 somewhere, because he is playing well, Harrington.
Yeah, he is. I pretty much echo everything you've said here. Woods is far too short for me at 71. I just think it's people, the general public and the betting industry are just desperate for Woods to return to his 2001 greatness.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of questions to ask for me. He was a very short favourite this last week. Did he make the cut? So 71, no thank you. Lee Westwood, Andy Murray problem, definitely. McIlroy, too infatuated with Wozniacki to concentrate here. Luke Donald, same as Andy Murray. Padraig Harrington's done it. Justin Rose, a player I've always loved.
I love Rose as well.
Justin Rose.
Yeah.
And I think he will win a major one day. I don't think he's got the Andy Murray issue. I just think he's had an opportunity, really. And Graham McDowell, you can't write off Graham McDowell. Fantastic US Open winner in 2010. And You know, I think he's got a shout at 33 to 1. Right?
Just a word, by the way, as far as the each way betting is concerned on the golf, and I know a lot of you like to play each way on the outright market. Terms and conditions vary hugely across the various different bookmakers. It's a quarter of the odds a place. Some bookies will give you 5 places, some will give you 6. Paddy Power will give you 7. And all this kind of information is vital in a punter's armoury, because you know, you back someone at a big price and they're 7th, and you backed it elsewhere, you end up kicking yourself.
It's huge. It's massive. It's almost like the Grand National. You know, these places are getting extended year on year.
Yes.
I would be surprised if no one goes 8 places next week. That will not happen until probably this time next week. And I wouldn't be surprised that in maybe 5 years' time when I get the whole top 10. I could see that happening. The
dilemma I sometimes have, and I still don't know the best way to resolve it, because if I fancy a player at a big price, and I had this eventuality actually in the last major, whereby, say, I fancy a player at the 7th place market, I can get 80 to 1, and the 6th place market is 100 to 1.
It's
and I'm
tricky,
like, do I want the bigger price, or do I want more places? I don't know.
It's whether you have belief that he can win the competition, or you just fancy him to be placed.
Well, what I tend to do, I tend to play. In that instance, I'd have played the 100 to 1 6 places on the basis that, and this isn't very mathematical or scientific, but on the basis that if he ends up 7th, and that is the one place I don't want him to be, at least he'll have been in the mix, so I'd have had a run for my money. That's kind of my logic.
I like that. It sounds good, though.
Based on what we said yesterday about, or the day before, about betting must be fun.
Yeah.
You know, never bet more than you can afford to lose.
Absolutely. For me, it would be whether I believe that, you know, can this player win the Open? No, he can't. I think he's capable of finishing in the frame.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'll take the enhanced places.
All right. One part to go, and in the final part of today's show, we're looking at the big race at Ascot on the 21st of July. That's the King George. Some interesting market moves there, and we found a couple of beauties for you, we think, in the Olympic anti-post betting. See you in a minute. Welcome back. You're watching The Punter on Sports Tonight Live. I'm Trevor Harris. Alongside me is Chris Graham, whose tip for the Eclipse bolted in on Saturday, Nathaniel. What are your thoughts on Nathaniel's chances in the King George, which is, I think, July 21 at Ascot?
I think he's got a very big chance. Let's think about, take Saturday as an example. He won that race despite it not being his best distance. He's a 12 furlong horse. He won it 10 furlongs. The trainer came out before the race and said he won't be 100%. It was his first race for 10 months, so he wasn't at peak condition. He wasn't 100%, and he still won. He still beat a horse as good as Far, and that for me was a huge plus point. He won this race last year, the King George,
which is massive, isn't it?
That's just the kind of form that I love, and I get excited about the horses that have won at the track and have won at the distance and have won that actual race. So you got that in Nathaniel. Of course, he's up against Nicholas Abbey, who was just a brute at this 12 furlongs.
Well, let's have a look at the odds, Chris. You mentioned St Nicholas Abbey. It's a 5 to 2 chance. I mean, there's some big names in this. Dunedin, of course, won the Melbourne Cup. Seamoon, we know all about Seamoon's quality, and Daintree won the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe.
Won the Arc in October, which is one of the biggest shocks I can ever remember in horse racing. Seamoon won last month, really. So he won at Ascot really well, very handily at 72. It's a decent field. Let's hope they all turn up on the day. St Nicholas Abbey was third in this race last year, so Nathaniel beat him in this race last year.
So why do the bookmakers then feel that he can reverse the form on that showing?
Because he's trained by Aidan O'Brien, who's a top trainer, and he won the Coronation Cup at Epsom in very convincing fashion, and he's won the Breeders' Cup as well. So he's probably got a better CV than Nathaniel. But I just think Nathaniel was a good shout here. He won it last year. It was a very tragic race last year. Ree Welding broke down as we put down, but Nathaniel 3 to 1. It should be a great. Let's hope they all turn up. It should be a great race.
Yeah, star-studded field indeed, and it'll be a star-studded field at London 2012 across a whole host of events. We've picked up a couple of potential bets for you. The first one of which is a bet that we highlighted about a week ago in terms of which nation will win the most gold medals. Now, most bookmakers are favouring the US over China, but it's a two-horse race effectively, USA and China. USA are the favourites, despite the fact that China won 15 more gold medals than the States 4 years ago. Most bookmakers are around about 8 to 13 the USA, 6 to 5, bit of 5 to 4 about China. except Sporting Bet, who are massively out of line. They go 7-4 China.
Wow, that's huge.
Which is huge. It's huge value for me. There you can see it. I mean, you can see there are other countries in this, but it's 100 to 1 and whatever. Paddy Power are 11-10 China in this market.
That's a huge
now, why? Well, I'm just curious. I mean, Chris, with your kind of like bookmaking industry experience, why do some bookmakers go sort of so far out on a limb on a market like this?
It's rare, and it's very rare, but obviously it does happen. It's happened here. I worked at Sporting Bet for 6.5 years, so Sporting Bet generally is quite conservative when it comes to its pricing, but they do allow certain traders to really go into a limit and really face up to the punters, and the tennis traders like that is really brave, and you'll get some fantastic prices with Sporting Bet on the tennis. And in this example here, I think I'm pretty much sure I know the guy who's priced this up. He's very opinionated, very comfortable with his opinions, and he thinks he's right, and the head trader allows him to take a real bullet here potentially.
So my question is this then, is if this all goes pear-shaped for Sporting Bet and China win this market, does he then get sort of summoned in to see the boss on the Monday morning following the end of the game?
I've got a great wee story, hopefully we've got time, but Alan Alger, who
yes,
spoke to us,
friend of the programme.
He used to work at Sporting Bet with me many moons ago. He priced up, I hope this is right, Alan, but he priced up loads of political betting for the local elections. Local elections in 2006 or something like that, and he got a lot of it wrong. Again, I hope I'm right, Alan. And it cost the company a wee bit of money, and I'm sure he got absolutely bollocked by the head trader that particular Monday morning. Alan, I hope I'm right.
Well, as I say, we've highlighted the value for you, and we've given you the stats. 15 more goals last time for China. They're 7-4 with Sporting Bet. One of the price I love because I don't think it's right. The women's triathlon. I don't get this. Nicola Spirig is a Swiss triathlete, Chris. She's won the last 2 World Championship events, having not run previously for about 4 months, 6 months because of injury. She took some time out to do a law degree, believe it or not. But she's won the last 2 events very easily. And she's a 6-1 shot here. Helen Jenkins has not raced against Spirig this season because they've just, not because they've tried to avoid each other, it's just happened. Jenkins does not have the sprint finish that Spirig does. I don't understand this. They're almost the wrong way around. Paula Findlay, who's the triathlete in between him in the betting, Canadian girl, hasn't been fit for the best part of a year. She's having pain-killing injections. She may not even run in the Olympics, and if she does, she might be 50% fit if you're lucky. You can forget the rest. That to me is an absolute knocking bet at 6s. There is I think you can play each way. I think Ladbrokes are letting you play each way, 50 odds first 3. So you're effectively getting even money a place.
Wow. I need to get to go on.
And Alistair Brownlee, by the way, who we tipped up here a while back at about 11-10, he's now 8-13.
Oh, mate, you're the man to listen to.
On triathlon. But it just shows you the power of the punter here on Sports Tonight. And do you know what? We'll do it all over again tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Once again, thanks for joining us from Chris and from myself. Bye-bye.